Well, this was a big disappointment. Yesterday, I went to go and see The End of Oak Street. Now, I know I'm late to the party on this one, and that's because I was in Frankfurt, obviously, and my friend wanted to go and see this movie with me, but he's been busy recently, so we've had to delay it many times. But we've finally gotten around to seeing it, and I was very excited to watch this movie because it's directed by David Robert Mitchell, who directed It Follows. One of my favourite horror movies of all time. If you have somehow never watched that movie, I encourage you to see it as soon as you can. And also, the concept of this movie just hooks you in immediately. A small neighbourhood gets taken back in time to the dinosaur period and they have to survive. I mean, how is that not a cool concept for a movie? And then you have two big stars in the lead roles: Anne Hathaway, the most beautiful actress of all time, and Ewan McGregor. This movie should be a slam dunk. And yet it wasn't. The End of Oak Street is the most disappointing movie of the year, and I am going to feel really bad criticising this movie because it's David Robert Mitchell's passion project. And I'm sure he wouldn't like it, hearing people slam it, saying it's terrible, but this movie has so many problems that you just have to be honest. You really do. So let's just get into the first big issue with this movie, and that is the fact that this movie basically has no story outside of its basic concept. This is the formula for The End of Oak Street. We have a heart-to-heart between the family, and then there's a dinosaur chase. There's a heart-to-heart between the family, then there's a dinosaur chase. There's a heart-to-heart, there's a chase, etc., etc. That is the entire movie outside of the first 20 minutes and the last 10 minutes. This movie basically has there's no second act, and it gets agonizingly boring. This movie is very pretentious when it comes to the pacing. And what doesn't help is that you do not care about the characters. And look, I understood what they were trying to do here. It's a broken family, and this experience is going to help them come together again. It's a concept that we've seen a million times. It's nothing new, but if it's done right, it can be really effective and emotional. But I don't think this movie did that concept well at all, and that is because the characterization of these characters is so inconsistent. At the start of this movie, the dad, played by Ewan McGregor, he's a guy who's very out there and he will get stuff done. For example, there's a neighbour and he's an arsehole. This neighbour is a right arsehole. You do not like him whatsoever. And yet he tries to be friendly, tries to help him out. He's not afraid to get stuff done. But later on in the movie, when they've been introduced to the dinosaurs and they realise what's been going on, there's a moment where Anne Hathaway says, "Oh, we've got to go out, we've got to get some food." And Ewan McGregor's going, no, we can't do that. But just 20 minutes ago, he was a very outgoing person. Anne Hathaway was the person who said, "Oh, let's not do this," earlier on. So it's like they just swap the characterizations over for no reason. And then we get to the children, who do not need to be in this movie at all. And again, I get it. It's a family movie. You need to focus on the family. But can you at least make the kids do something instead of just making them run around, shoot makeshift bow and arrows, and nearly get eaten about 5 times throughout the movie? And then we get introduced to this other child, which at the start of the movie, it's hinted that there's a blossoming romance that's going to happen throughout the movie. And yet it goes nowhere. These characters are essentially walking NPCs. They are just there to walk around, run away from dinosaurs, shoot them, stab them a few times, and then end the movie. But surprisingly, the story and the characters is the least of this movie's problems. This is probably one of the most jarring and inconsistent movies tonally I have seen in a while. I want you to be honest with me. I want you to put this down in the comments if you have seen this movie. Was this movie trying to be serious, or was it trying to be a comedy? Because there are times in this movie where it's trying to be funny. But there are also times in this movie where I swear it's trying to be serious, and yet certain moments come off very funny. There's a moment where a significant character dies, and it's laughable. And it's weird because it's obviously not being played out as a joke, but the way it's presented, you just can't help but laugh at it. And there's so many scenes of the characters running or having a light jog throughout this street, and you just see dead bodies and dinosaurs pecking at these bodies and blood and guts everywhere. And yet I couldn't help but laugh at it. And even the entire cinema was laughing at these moments. And for every one of these scenes, there's a scene of 2 dinosaurs having sex and Ewan McGregor getting his picture taken next to him. That's meant to be a joke, and to be fair, it was a very funny joke. So this entire movie came off as a comedy, but I swear it wasn't trying to be that. And then we have the characters making these stupidest decisions to make them even more unlikable. I don't know about you, but if I heard screams in my neighborhood and I saw this big giant white light glowing and my cats are outside, I'm bringing the cats in immediately. But in this movie with their dog called Starbuck, they decide to leave him outside when this happens. Like, what are you thinking? And the dog has a history of getting off its lead. And then because the script wants to design fake tension, they make the characters even dumber. There are moments where they're looking in one direction and you can clearly see a giant dinosaur behind them. You should hear them going boom, 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 boom. They did that all the time in the Jurassic Park movies, even the bad ones. And yet in this movie, the deaf. They can't hear this dinosaur running towards them. However, I do want to give this story and its characters some praise. For example, there were a few chase scenes where I didn't know if a character was going to die. I thought those moments were presented in a very effective manner. And I do really love the ending. I thought the ending of this movie made a lot of sense if you think about it hard enough. And I think if it was connected to an even better movie, it could have been one of the best endings to a movie this year. The only major aspect I can praise this film for was with its technical aspect. I do think David Robert Mitchell is a great director. He can produce some very effective shots. I just love those shots where he's closing in on a character's face and they're in focus and you can see the background in focus and it just creates a lot of tension with those characters. And the way he shot some of those dinosaur sequences was masterful. There's a really great one-shot chase with a T-Rex or some sort of giant dinosaur. I'm not an archaeologist, so I don't know my dinosaurs well, but it was a very effective scene. There's one scene with a giant snake-looking dinosaur, which was great because you don't hear anything. It is basically a silent scene, and yet it had me on the edge of my seat. I wanted more moments like that with better characters. And the characters, unfortunately, do affect the actors because they have nothing to work with. The best performance easily came from Anne Hathaway. I mean, she's a great actress. She's having an amazing year this year. As I said, her character was not interesting whatsoever, but she delivered a very fine emotional performance. Ewan McGregor, though, look, I like Ewan McGregor. He's amazing as Obi-Wan. He's great in Trainspotting. But that American accent is something to behold. His real accent slipped out so many times throughout this movie, and it really hindered his performance. He had no chemistry with Anne Hathaway or the children, and as an overall performance, it just wasn't convincing enough. Everyone is trying to deliver a very solid performance here, but the script just really doesn't help them whatsoever. You could hire the best actors in the game, and yet if you don't have a good script, just not going to deliver a good performance, unfortunately. And I think that is proven in this movie. So in conclusion, The End of Oak Street is the most disappointing movie of the year. It has very uninteresting characters, a very repetitive plot, lack thereof of a plot in the second act, and it can't decide what it wants to be. I cannot tell you if this movie was trying to be serious or if it was trying to be a comedy. However, I do think it's had an amazing ending. I thought it was directed very well. The effects on the dinosaurs look great, and Anne Hathaway delivers a very solid performance. But that can't save this movie, unfortunately. And I really hate criticising this movie because I love this director and it's clear he put a lot of passion into this movie. But I just have to be honest, unfortunately. I'm going to give The End of Oak Street a very disappointing 3 out of 10. And there we go, people. That is the end of this review. If you have seen The End of Oak Street, do let me know your thoughts on it. Did you like it? Did you not? And let me know if you think this movie is trying to be a comedy. I'm very interested to see what people think about that. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, guys. Have a good day, and see you later.